Shocking news. Terence Crawford has signed a contract to fight Avanesyan on December 10th in Omaha. The fight will be streamed on BLK Prime for $40 on pay-per-view, which you can expect this fight to flop in a major way because all of the boxing fans only want to see the undisputed fight against Errol Spence. However, Crawford did respond to Errol Spence claiming that Bud was the one stalling the fight, where he said, quote, "I was really looking forward to the Errol Spence fight. I started communicating with Al Haymon and PBC back in June, and unfortunately, they represent a fighter in Errol Spence who doesn't want the fight as bad as I did. I agreed to all of their bullshit, and they have been dragging their asses for months. Spence was nowhere to be found while I was trying to make the deal. I explained to Al Haymon and Errol that I was going to fight before the end of the year, since they wanted to continue dragging their ass. I'm going to fight another champion who actually has the balls to fight me. Avanesyan is a very tough task. He knocked out his last 6 opponents, and this guy is dangerous. Once I'm successful against Avanesyan, my plan is still the same. Whip Errol Spence ass." End of the quote. Crawford did clarify to ESPN that the issue was he wanted transparency related to the event expenses since the contract contained no guarantee purse, and he took the smaller percentage when it came to the money split. Contrary to the Errol Spence fight, Crawford is making his career highest payday of 8 figures to fight this nobody in a tune-up fight. Crawford is set to make over $10 million, which is crazy. To hear that Crawford is making over $10 million to fight a nobody. However, PBC and Al Haymon offered him 0 guarantee money to fight Errol Spence in the biggest fight in boxing. At this rate, can you really blame Crawford if he accepted all of Errol Spence and Al Haymon terms only for transparency in return? However, he did not receive it. So he moved on to make just as much money of a career high payday of 8 figures for a tune-up fight to stay active since he's been out of the ring for almost a year and the Errol Spence negotiations have been stalling for months. In addition to that, Crawford was already in full training camp to fight Errol Spence in November 19th. So since the fight is not taking place on that date and now is being pushed back 4 months later, Crawford decided since he's already been in training camp, he wanted to fight an opponent to stay busy. So that's why he's fighting on December 10th, as he did not want the whole camp to go for waste. Now, according to reports on ESPN, Crawford remains in talks to face Errol Spence in an undisputed welterweight bout. But when it became clear to Crawford that PBC was not targeting the first quarter of 2023 for the fight, he decided to push forward with a title defense to ensure he, like Errol Spence, fought at least once in 2022. Errol Spence and Crawford are still motivated to strike a deal maybe on February 2023. However, the million-dollar question now, will Errol Spence take a tune-up fight against his WBA mandatory, or would he just wait, since he said earlier today that he having a hard time making welterweight? Hopefully, Errol Spence doesn't move on and move up to 154. With that being said, as long as the Errol Spence fight happens immediately after the stay busy fight by Crawford, then this is all good and dandy. However, if the Errol Spence fight doesn't happen, then this is a bad decision by Crawford. If Crawford believes Errol Spence doesn't want the fight and he's not negotiating in good faith, where Errol is trying to force Crawford to walk away from negotiations, even then Crawford should have been the last person to leave the negotiation table. However, this situation is tricky because supposedly Crawford is still negotiating with Errol Spence. He's only taken a tune-up fight since the negotiations has been stalling. And the fact that Crawford is making over $10 million in a tune-up fight while PBC did not offer Crawford any guarantee money for the Errol Spence fight. 0 guarantee money for the biggest fight in boxing. So you can feel for Crawford. If they not willing to give him transparency after he took a bad deal, then what is he supposed to do? Stall his career at 35 years old? Or take a tune-up fight and see what happens after that. Nevertheless, what is your opinion on that? Who you guys blame? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below, subscribe below, and click on the notification bell to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, Akhi TV. Peace. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I told you I was gonna pull up on Spence.
Hey, you really already know. Hey, look. I love it.
Hey, look, I love it. I told him about what that word. I told him about what that word. This ain't no Keith Thurman shit. That's gonna be scared and shit.
It's free smoke, Junior. They don't know what time it is.
T-Bug Crawford.
Yeah. Everybody know who the champ is at 147, who the king is. And he's too small. He's too small. He little. He light in the ass.
Hey, look.
Ain't
nobody say Floyd was light in the ass.
He's light in the ass. You're not Floyd. What you talking about? I knew he was gonna be here.
And you knew I was gonna pull up.
That's why I came.
Did you know I was gonna pull up?
Oh God, I knew he was gonna be here.
Did you know I was gonna pull up?
Hey, where you at?
Did you know
I
I was
got a
gonna
text
pull up?
message, nigga, from 3 o'clock.
And you got a FaceTime for me and you didn't answer.
I don't know your number. But now you know. Save it.